Welcome to Memorial Cooking Innovations. I'm Tim Scallon, registered dietitian.
And I'm Manuel Marini, executive chef.
You've heard me say this before, but it bears repeating, that for most Americans today, if you don't currently have hypertension, if you live long enough, you probably will have. And the reason for this is because sodium is widely dispersed in practically everything we eat. Well, what we can do to reduce our sodium intake is choose low sodium foods, eat less salt, and choose more fresh foods, because the fresh foods have, if they're not packaged or sit on the shelf for a while, they don't have sodium additives to preserve their shelf life. And so today's recipes, you and I kind of talked about, and so tell us what we're cooking today.
Well, today we're doing a minestrone. All right, and so that's very good. It's a traditional Italian soup.
Minestrone.
Minestrone, and we're gonna use low sodium. We're gonna add fresh herbs with some dried herbs. But I think sometimes if you add more herbs, you have that flavor that you're looking for salt. You know, and so we're gonna replace it with, of course, our fresh vegetables, and then we're gonna do a nice sautéed chicken with artichokes and spinach, and then we're gonna top it out with a little beurre blanc, which is a creamy lemon butter sauce, but of course we're using the healthier version of it, and that's what we're going to show.
So we're going to take this traditional sauce and we're going to turn it into
a healthier one
that still tastes good.
Exactly.
Okay, man, do your magic.
Okay, so let's start with the soup, because that's going to take a little longer. Okay. So we're going to add a little bit of olive oil, Tim.
All right, we're going to start with the olive oil.
I'm going to start with the olive oil
this
here.
Is
we're just
familiar.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, because we're going to saute our onions.
Okay. And as for those who have been watching for a long time, you know, you always say you're going to sweat the onions.
Sweat the onions, and that's what we're going to do. I'm not putting my gloves on, because we can also find low sodium tomato, diced tomato, or we got some whole tomatoes
and so in this case, we were talking about choosing lower sodium foods. So here we've chosen a no salt added canned tomato. Now, Chef Manny, a lot of times on the show we talk about using fresh foods. You know, eating fresh foods is a good way to get less sodium. But also you do this with
canned, and these are nice tomatoes. I'm going to cut them up in here. Okay. But we're just going to get all that flavor first.
You wanted that juice from
I want that juice. And it'll eventually it'll cook up too, so we're good. Okay, you said...
So we typically say fresh is better, but...
It's always better.
Well, it is, but now on tomatoes, canned tomatoes, this might be the exception to that rule. And the reason is because the canneries of tomatoes, they've done studies on nutrient value of canned tomatoes versus fresh. And the canneries, the canned tomatoes are, in some cases, have more nutrients than the fresh tomatoes. The reason is because they pick tomatoes at their peak of freshness. Cannery is nearby, goes right there, and then canning locks in the nutrient and the flavor.
See, that's good to know. Plus, they're now offering a lower sodium tomato as well.
Now, that's an important thing, is to choose the no added salt. But, you know, when you're comparing that canned tomato to a fresh tomato, you know, the fresh tomatoes that we eat, unless they're homegrown or in season, you know, those tomatoes are picked green from somewhere far away. They ripen on the way to market, and then they sit on the grocer's shelf for a few days before we eat them. And so the nutrient value actually is not as high because they were picked green, and it diminishes a little bit until we eat them. So in this case, this is an exception to the fresh rule. The canned tomatoes are a good choice.
Now I'm going to add my...
Gotta have garlic.
Gotta have garlic, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, and this is probably a good time to add our herbs, okay, Tim?
Okay.
Let me get my basil here. Let me get this out of the way.
You know, there's a lot of good ingredients in this soup. The tomatoes, in fact, people who eat tomatoes on a daily basis have a lower incidence of heart disease, so that's a good thing. Of course, we all know that garlic is a healthy thing to eat. Fresh herbs, you've heard me say many times, are always healthier, up to 7 times the antioxidant ingredients in fresh herbs over their dried counterparts. Onions, celery, all of these are just very healthy foods to eat on a regular basis. Now, you're going to add some canned beans to this here in a little bit.
Yes.
And so just...
And the reason for that is because we bought the can, we found some low sodium, which is great.
Yep.
Normally, if I had dried, I'd start off with the beans first.
Yes.
That's a smart way to go.
Yeah.
Soak them overnight, let them soften itself, and then we start cooking, and then add your tomatoes and start cooking it together. So here I have time. Not enough of it.
You never have enough time.
We never have enough time, Tim.
Yeah.
Except for this. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So here I'm just.
And I was surprised that when we were talking about this recipe, because usually you don't choose time, but you did in this recipe. Now tell me why.
I just like it. I just like time. It's nice. It brings out some flavor.
Yeah. It fits in a minestrone. Yeah.
It fits in a minestrone.
Okay.
Okay. So we're gonna let that cook up a little bit. Okay.
This is really. Can I stir?
Yeah, sure can.
Okay. All right.
Here, now the recipe does call for. You're always going to have a little bit of extra broth if you need, or if you don't have an extra broth, you could always add a little more water to it because it will reduce itself. Okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. So. Yeah. And then when we throw in the pasta, it's always going to absorb some of the water too.
And you're using a chef term there. Anytime you hear a chef say reduce, basically what he's saying is you're going to boil it or simmer it until the amount of liquid reduces down.
Reduces down to half. Maybe 1/3 on this part.
Yeah. Okay.
So now let's add the beans, Tim.
Okay. All right.
It's looking good.
Okay, and basically what I did on these garbanzo beans before we were on, I took these and I rinsed them real good. It's the best we can do. It doesn't get all the salt off of them, but it does help. It's what we can do.
And this is your typical minestrone, but if you like black beans are just as good. Beans are always good for you.
And see, these are reduced sodium beans. Now in the labeling world, reduced sodium by law means that it's 30% less than the regular product. Well, if the beans have 1,500 milligrams of sodium, 30% less, the beans still have 1,000 milligrams of sodium in them. So what you're really looking for is where it says no added salt, and that's like this label. This label says no added salt on it. And that means literally there's no salt added to this product. There's 22 milligrams of sodium in this can of beans. Tomatoes, yes.
Okay, so now what we're going to do is just let it cook.
All right.
The flavors, it smells really good right now too. So
got some beautiful color there.
So it'll darken up in a few minutes. We're just going to let it simmer for a while, okay, Tim?
Okay.
All right, Tim. You see our soup is going good.
Yep.
Later on, once it starts boiling, we're going to let it simmer for a little bit. Then we're going to add our cabbage and our pasta. Okay? So, just in case, where's my pasta? Where's my pasta? It's going to come later, okay?
Okay.
So,
because I was worried about that.
Yeah, man. When it comes to pasta, we got to have our pasta. But when do you put it? That's the deal.
We needed the pasta.
We need it. So now we're going to do our chicken, okay?
All right.
And it's pretty fun, pretty simple to do.
All right, now tell me how you're going to do this chicken.
Well, it's pretty simple. What I am going to do is of course, add my little olive oil here in the pan. All right.
We're going to try hot.
I got my pan hot. We're going to try to do everything we can in the pan. And I'm talking about what we're going to do is we're going to saute the chicken to a nice golden brown on both sides. Give and take, 8-9 minutes on each side and just keep it, we'll keep going. We'll pull it out. We'll pull it to the side. Okay. Then we'll grab our onions and our shallots and our spinach into the pan because I want all that flavor from the chicken.
You're building flavor in that pan.
Exactly. Okay. So everything is going to be done around that pan. Okay. So if I got the recipe calls for 6, so I'm going to do 6 chicken breasts. Okay. Everything is going to be in the pan, and it's wonderful.
Ooh.
All right. So let me get my gloves on real quick, only because we're going to have a nice lunch here.
Well, and you've got some lean chicken breasts.
I got some nice lean
There's
chicken breasts.
Skin on them.
Okay, so I'm gonna grab it and I'm just gonna put it right here.
Okay.
All right. Here's one for me, one for you.
Yeah, that sounds good.
What about Randy?
Let's get one for Randy. Yeah.
One for Randy. All right.
All right.
We're going for Randy. All right.
Yeah.
Let me get that. Okay. That's 3 of us.
All right.
Okay. So.
Okay,
always be careful because it's always hot.
Okay.
Where are you going?
And you know, when you're cooking these, it's okay to season with like a dash of salt and pepper.
It is, and that's what I'm going to do right now. I got some cracked black pepper here, Tim.
Yeah.
Because it's also going to season the pan, okay?
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, like when we're reducing our sodium intake, you want just a little bit of sodium. And this, in this recipe, you've got salt, and you see how much you used. It's just a dash. And then later, you're going to add some artichoke hearts. Now, here again, artichoke hearts is something that I was unable to find low sodium or unsalted. And those two ingredients are what's going to contribute the
flavor
sodium.
Sodium to everything.
Flavor, but the sodium too.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so this soup is getting about ready. You think it's time for the cabbage?
You know what? I think so.
Okay.
Let me grab my cabbage here. Yeah. Now, I didn't bring the whole cabbage, of course, but I took a few leaves out of this cabbage. And sometimes we seem to, you know how the cabbage florals out like that?
Yeah.
As long as the leaves are really nice, I mean, wash them really good, because you do, because they grow on the ground. So wash them really good. Everything in the cabbage is worth saving.
Just cut off where it's brown, huh?
Just cut off where it's brown, all right?
You know, I have to tell you, Chef Manny, that, you know, you teach us on knife safety how to, you know, use your knuckles to
guide your knife with it, yeah?
And during the holidays, I forgot to do that. And so I got a little bit of finger into my holiday dressing. I was able to fish it out, fortunately. So, but I thought about you. I thought, you know, Chef Manny told me.
Ouch.
Oh, well.
I'll remember those days, Tim.
Yeah.
All right, look, I'm going to add my...
So you have cut your finger before.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I've had my shares, but I got better and better and better. All right, so I added...
It's wonderful.
My cabbage. Let's throw it in, because cabbage is good.
Cabbage is a very good
Cabbage is good for you.
Cabbage is one of those foods that actually has antioxidants that inhibit cancer formation. Ooh,
okay, I'm going to put my chicken here. Just like I said, we're just going to let it rest, okay?
Okay.
Let this get hot. So what about your pasta?
Pastina.
We're just going to add a little bit, Tim. I'm just going to crack it open right here.
Yeah, I think your recipe calls for not much. It's
not
like
much.
three-quarter of a cup.
Yeah.
And basically what you're going to do with this is you're just going to cook it until that pasta is done. Your soup is almost done, maybe 10 minutes. You know, it's just, if you're not sure how long to cook that, look at the directions on whichever pasta you choose. And that tells you how long to cook the pasta.
And normally, when you're looking at a minestrone, you dice. If you buy diced tomatoes, they're you know smaller diced. I just like it a little chunky because you brought the whole tomato, so it's either or. You know what I mean? So, but all the ingredients are there. Simple. Boom. We just let it cook.
Okay.
Now I got my pan hot, right?
Yeah, and you got a lot of flavor in there too.
There's a lot of flavor. There's chicken. There's a pinch of salt. A pinch of salt. So we're gonna add a little bit of shallots. Okay.
Yeah.
Now shallots or onions, whatever you have. Don't go out and buy shallots.
Yeah,
use onions.
You can use onions.
Onions, you know, we just want a little bit of them. We're just going to sweat that off a little bit. This is what makes it really fun. Now, the spinach will cook really quick.
Okay.
So we got 3, and spinach is good for you.
Oh, yeah.
Spinach is good for you.
Yep. And see, you're using what appears to be way too much just for these 3 chicken breasts, but you'll see how spinach just really cooks down to nothing. And so I think your recipe actually calls for like, I'm not sure.
I think it was like 2 cups, 3 cups.
You're right.
I mean, spinach, you know what? You can put more spinach if you like.
Yeah.
Only because once once it cooks down, you're like practically have nothing. But it is so good. And it really doesn't take that long to do so. Artichokes. What I did, they're whole artichokes. I cut them in quarters.
Yep, okay.
Well, I really didn't. It was Carrie that cut them for me.
Okay, thank you, Carrie, for cutting those artichokes.
So Carrie did this for me. So, and artichokes are so good. Oh my God. You know, a lot of times you don't really have that flavor, but when you add it to something, for some reason, it just brings out
It's a very
flavor.
subtle flavor, artichoke.
It is so good. So, already looking good.
It's beautiful. Okay, now what is this you've got?
Now, I got Pernod.
Okay. So this is a French liqueur.
It's a French liqueur. Yeah. It's a licorice.
And it's not Pernod.
No, it's Pernod.
Pernod. Okay. Just wanted to make sure we knew what
but you
we
speak
were
French,
talking about.
So was I right or was I not right?
You were.
Good.
You were.
All right. I really like that. Anyway, to me, it's like a dry licorice
Let
flavor.
me smell. Let me smell. Ooh, I smell the licorice. Oh, that smells
that's
so
pretty.
good.
That's
yeah,
pretty.
It's beautiful.
Now,
pretty is a good way to describe that.
yeah,
It really
what
is.
I did, I used to use this when we did the oyster Rockefellers. You know, the oysters and the half shell with the sauteed spinach, top it off, and then put a little hollandaise sauce. This is what they used to flavor that spinach. Oh, it's a great combination.
So it rounds out a flavor a little bit.
It does. It really does. So now that I got my spinach and my artichokes, I'm just going to put a little bit. It doesn't take much, okay?
Yeah.
Again, this is 40% proof. You don't have to use it. You don't have to. Don't go out and buy a bottle of Pernod. But it does go good with spinach and so on.
So what would you use if you weren't using Pernod?
A little white wine.
A little white wine. Okay.
A little white wine would be fine.
Okay.
You smell that licorice? It's great. Now remember, if you're having an open, we don't have open flame here. It does flame because you're using alcohol.
Oh yeah.
So you got pull it away, pour a little bit, and come back slowly. It'll flame up.
Oh.
Okay. So always be careful. Yeah.
Okay.
Always be careful when you're handling this liquors, hard liquors, because
near a flame.
They're flaming. You're close to the stove here. All right. Then I'm just, because you and I like spinach and we like, and I know Randy does because we were talking about that earlier today. He's behind the cameras.
Yeah.
So we're gonna put plenty of it, okay?
Okay. Oh, that's wonderful. Now, how are you going to get that bed of spinach underneath there?
The bed of spinach, the pasta.
I mean, the bed of pasta. That's what I meant to say. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna do something different in a minute.
Okay.
Now, again, remember, we're using the same pan because we want to flavor all that flavor together, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So
it is time for
the
beurre blanc.
The beurre blanc. The
beurre
traditional white butter sauce.
White butter sauce.
Okay.
Here we got our pan, flavorful.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, we're going to, let me see what I was going to do. I was going to get a little more oil because we took most of it out.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to get our shallots. Again, you can use onions. I'm going to use onions, okay, Tim?
Okay. So continuing to build flavors in this pan, and all of those flavors go together on your plate eventually.
Eventually.
Yeah.
A little more pepper.
Okay. All right.
We're going to let that cook up a little bit, and then we're going to squeeze a little lemon.
Now squeeze a lemon. This is something that I've learned from you, Chef Manny. I never buy the jarred lemon stuff anymore. You know, I know it says real lemon on that jar, but when you taste this lemon compared to any jarred lemon sauce, it's just not the same.
It's not the same.
It's just not. I never buy it anymore. Now I have fresh lemons on my grocery list, and I learned that from you.
So we're going to do this. Again, a lot of times we go around in circles, just, but I like to go just in a small little spot, and not only because if I get a seed,
oh, I see.
I know exactly
where
the seeds are, right?
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Or if you have one of those cheesecloth, this one isn't going to work.
Do
Let me
that
get
between
this
that.
one. Yeah, if you have a cheesecloth, then you just wrap it around the cheesecloth and squeeze it. But
well, in this traditional French butter sauce, obviously we have to make some changes for this to fit our nutrition guidelines, because a French butter sauce, I mean, come on, how are we going to make this healthy? Well, there's two ingredients that we're going to change in this, and one is instead of using all
wine?
Butter, well, that one's okay. Actually, the wine is healthy.
Wine is really good.
Yeah.
We're just going to do a little bit. Now we're going to just let it reduce, okay, Tim?
Okay. So in our version of the beurre blanc, we're going to use, instead of butter, we're going to use a margarine. And now you got to be careful about what margarine you pick, because whether it's butter or regular margarine, if the regular margarine has trans fat, both of those clog our blood vessels. In this case, we're going to use a margarine. Got a little bit out here, right here. Let me just take. Oh, do you want that?
Yeah, go ahead, throw it in there. We're not wasting that one.
Yeah, and so on this one, this is a margarine that's made from a blend of vegetable oils. It does have some butter in it. But it also has, more importantly, plant sterols.
Plant steroids.
And not steroids, but
sterols.
sterols. Yeah, sterols, yeah, which is different. So plant sterols actually lower our blood cholesterol.
And that's good.
Yeah, yeah. So in this case, we're taking out a bad ingredient and adding back in something good. Okay, now the other change that you and I agreed on this one was...
using typically we would use some heavy cream, which is, you know, heavy.
It's high in fat, high in cholesterol.
Heavy on everything,
It's
right?
very delicious.
It's wonderful. But we got a half and half.
Fat-free. Fat-free half and half. We found this right at our local Brookshire Brothers. It's in the dairy section, just next to the half and half. You got to look, but it's there.
It's there.
And
the only thing is that when we're reducing it down, it won't reduce like heavy cream.
Yeah.
You know, it won't thick. But we're gonna thicken it up a little bit with a little flour.
Which was an adaptation that we made in this recipe to make it work right.
To make it work right.
Yep.
But also, this will help us to thicken up a little bit too.
Okay.
So we're not using too much flour. It's just a little. So what we're going to do is, if we have to thicken it up, if we don't see it reducing much, then go ahead and add a little bit of flour, mix it, you know, whip it really good, and then we're going to add the butter last, and then that's going to also help it.
Okay.
Okay. So
you mean add the fat?
Fat free right here. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to add it. It's going to take a little longer. We don't need much because it's only 3 of us, okay?
Okay, now there's a key thing there. He was keeping that moving as he was adding it. Yeah, and that's in recipes you'll say add it and stir while you're
So I'm just moving it. So it's almost the same thing. I'm still stirring it. So now we're just going to let it come to a simmer, okay?
Okay.
And then what we're going to do is we're going to add our flour, mix it well, let it cook a little bit because we don't want that flour flavor. We want to cook off the flour. And then we're just going to spoonful a little bit at a time so the butter doesn't separate that fast.
Okay, okay.
Pretty simple.
Yeah. Yeah, and basically on your flour, what you're looking for, in this particular recipe, you're going to make 1.5 cups of sauce. Okay, you're not going to use all that because even using the changes that we did, you want to use a small amount of this sauce on your dish. And what you're doing is you're reducing how much of the margarine butter that you're getting. And so, you know, even though it is healthy butter, we still have a fat limit that we have to aim for to hit our healthy guidelines. So here again, what we're doing is we're knowing the ingredients that we're putting into it, and we're limiting the amount that we serve to our guests so that we reach our healthy guideline.
Perfect. Now, Tim, you see some of the bubbles coming up?
Yeah.
It's getting hot. So I'm going to go ahead and just lightly just spread. We're going to just add 1 tablespoon for right now, okay?
Okay.
We're going to make it really, we're going to mix it really good. We're going to, like I said, we're going to cook it a little bit. I don't want that floury flavor.
Yeah. So the way you cook it until the starch cooks, which means bubbly.
Bubbly, yes.
You're looking for bubbly. Now you're actually kind of changing how you're doing this because you're making a smaller amount.
Yeah.
Now, see, I expected you to put that margarine in first.
Oh,
add
no,
the
the
flour
margarine last. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
When margarine, I haven't tried this one because this is something new for you and me to do it.
Yeah.
But if I grab butter or margarine, it separates if it comes to a boil. It separates, all the fat goes down. And
okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
So,
okay.
What I want to do is, now that I got it reduced to where I want it, what I like to do is grab a little bit at a time. We're going to put it in here.
Here, let me get you. Let me help here.
And you're going to see how creamy it's going to get.
Okay.
It's just going to start getting creamy and creamy and creamier. This is pretty good. So I think we're ready to plate this up, Tim.
Okay.
All right. So our soup is looking good.
Yeah.
All right. I got the sauce ready. I got the chicken. One more thing, Tim.
Okay.
The pasta.
The pasta.
We got to have a little pasta.
Yeah.
You know, if you got rice at home, if you know, this is a great dish to do with rice.
Okay.
I mean, just your favorite starch, just go for it. You know me, I'm a pasta guy.
Okay.
So
tell me what you're going to do with that.
Okay, here's what I do. I cook my pasta al dente, okay? Remember I said, put it in the water, let it cool down, stop cooking. Make sure you stir it because the center is like an...
Still hot.
Oh, my God, it's hot.
Okay.
So I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil, okay?
Yep.
All right. Here, I got my pasta.
Now, so this isn't really to cook the pasta. You're just going to
heat up the pasta.
You're just going to flake. Okay, you're just going to heat it up.
Heat it up, okay?
Because you cooled it down, so it would quick cooking.
Yeah.
It'd quick cooking, so it's still al dente.
Yeah, it's still al dente.
So you're really just bringing this up to serving temperature then. Okay. All right.
Okay, I'm just going to add that right there. And this is something that people can do at home too, okay?
Okay.
I just want to show you something real quick because you asked me, well, how are we going to heat this up? How are we going to finish this plate?
So you really are going to put this on a bed of pasta.
I am. I promised you I would, right?
You did. You did.
All right. Remember I had a little bit of basil?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to throw it in the pasta.
In the pasta?
Yeah, nice little basil flavor.
Oh, okay.
We have a little bit of garlic left.
Not garlic.
Oh, my God. Boom.
Okay.
There you go. There you go,
love
Tim.
it.
All right?
I love it.
All right. So,
you see how we learn as we do?
I mean, just this alone, it's got all the flavor. The garlic and the basil.
Wonderful. See? This is why Italians like pasta.
Simple dish to make. Okay. So, if you don't mind, I'm going to put this one here, Tim.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. And I'm going to take these 2 plates.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to go start plating up. I'm
okay,
gonna grab
so while
our
you're...
pasta. This is nice and hot.
Yeah. Well, while you're doing that, let me just kind of sum up a few things, because I want to... We've covered a lot of ground with this show. You know, the recommended level of sodium per day is 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams. And we reduce our sodium by using less salt, choosing low-sodium foods, and by eating more fresh food. Canned beans can be very high in sodium. Choose the ones that say no added salt if you can find them. Okay. Part of the lesson in eating healthy is learning to identify the high sodium ingredients and then limiting them in your recipe. Al dente pasta has a lower glycemic index than overcooked pasta. So that means that it affects our blood sugar less when we eat it al dente, besides just tasting better. Spinach, very nutrient-dense food. What are the other places, other dishes that I could put spinach in? Choose a margarine that doesn't have trans fat. Okay, so you're just kind of drizzling a little bit on
that, okay?
Okay.
We got, and that's the reason we're using this sauce and very little of it, because we flavor our pasta, okay? With the basil and the garlic.
You don't need all that sauce.
It does go good with this.
Yeah.
Though.
Put that aside, and it would go good on. You could do a poached egg on an English muffin with this sauce. Huh?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. This goes good on fish.
On fish, okay, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
This
is
perfect.
Just a couple of tablespoons on whatever you're
Just
eating.
like this. It didn't take much. You know what I mean? And you said, is that going to be enough?
Yeah.
What do you think, Tim? Is that going to be enough?
Well, that's more than enough. That's actually for 3 people, though. I mean, you were doing
this. No, this is 3. We're gonna.
Yeah.
This is like a family. We're gonna sit down right here in a little bit and enjoy ourselves.
And then a little bit of Parmigiano Reggiano.
Parmigiano Reggiano, which means what?
Well, in English, that's Parmesan. But you know, you can impress your friends by knowing a little about Italian cheese. Parmigiano Reggiano.
Look at our soup. It's
Here, let me give you this one.
Okay. Put that one
you know, if you want to do, you know how he sprinkled just a little bit of that Parmigiano Reggiano on there? If you wanted just a different variation, you have your guests over and they tell you, I want you to make that dish again for us. Little something different. Use a Romano cheese. And then you can tell them about Romano. You can find that at Brookshire's. We appreciate Brookshire's celebration of family and food and community. And also, we want to say thanks to the H.C. Polk Education Center.
Most definitely.
And our friends at Sodexo Food Service.
Yes.
And, of course, we want to thank our friends at the City of Lufkin. They film and produce our show. Thank you, Randy. We really do appreciate you. Oh, yeah. You know, Randy's back there working hard behind the camera.
This is a good way to tell Randy thank you, isn't it?
It sure is. That's right.
He looks forward to it. And then again, we're going to top it off with
a little Parmigiano Reggiano.
Perfect. That's good, Tim.
So, and of course, we want to thank you for joining us. Here we are, changing the world one bite at a time, and you're part of it, and we're all learning together with Chef Manny. So, we'll see you next time on Memorial Cooking Innovations.